Okay, this is DJ Gary. Let's go back to the 60s. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can with as much as I know. So Holland, Dozier, Holland were songwriters. Eddie Holland, he was a solo singer, but I think he had stage fright, and that kind of like took him aback a bit. Lamont Dozier was a singer. He was in the Voice Masters with Richard Strait. Richard Strait ended up replacing Paul Williams of the Temptations. And I think Brian was just a songwriter. So they were writers at Motown, and they wrote hits for the Supremes. They dabbled with the Temptations, Four Tops. Brian, I think Brian helped write the lyrics to Ain't Too Proud to Beg. He helped Norm Whitfield on that. And so they were having success with Motown, but all of a sudden the situation kind of became a bit too much. And so according to some sources, they wanted a record. They didn't want to leave Motown. They just wanted a label so they could, develop whatever they want to develop, acts. And so, because they were big names in the industry, Eddie is a creative person, and things like that. Because Eddie, he pretty much just stayed busy during the disagreements with Barry Gordy. Brian and Aldo. So they, slowed down working with Motown. They kind of like strategized. But there was a lot of problems as far as, credit and royalty disputes and whatnot going on. But they were willing to work with. They were willing to work with Barry, but Barry is this boss. He's this boss, and once he put his foot down, he put his foot down, and they kind of was like just left. They were left at where they was left at, and they basically walked it away after. I think Forever Came Today was like their last ever song written by them for the Supremes. once they, but see, the thing is, they were already had they already had like these names according to a source. They already had like chairman of the board, uh the honeycombs, like they already had those names registered and ready to go. You know, they had some of those names already registered. They just had to find people, you know. And so Jeffrey Bowen ended up, you know, finding some of these people, and the name was already there, so they just filled the people up. Uh, Give me just a little more uh, time. Ended up becoming Holland Dozier Holland, breakout hit when they left Motown. They did the Invictus thing. But a little before that, Capital basically heard, the situation, and they was like, making a deal. They made the deal. That's when, give me just a little more time came, and that was a million seller. And then, chairman of the board, was like, they kind of like, some country type guys, you know, four of them, one ended up leaving, and so it became three. Honeycombs was there. Honeycombs, for the most part, those they were pretty successful. Then they had the eighth day, but who had She's Not Just Another Woman, which actually that was 100 Proof Agent Soul who recorded that song, but they call it the eighth day. Once it blew up, that's when they found people to create members of Eighth Day, because Eighth Day as a group did not exist. It was just the name. It was 100 Proof Age that recorded the song. But so once it blew up, that's when they, did all that. Uh, but Invictus and the Hot Wax, Dennis Coffey was over there. Some of the Funk Brothers, Babbitt was over there. Tony Newton was over there. Bassist. He was Smokey Robinson's bassist, and also bassist in studio. He played on some of the hits with Jamerson. A lot of people don't seem to realize there was two bass players on some of those songs playing at the same time, but that's another story. Um, at Motown, but the management, Capital was just kind of like they didn't really get it, until everything blew up. Then it was like, okay, now we're gonna, really get into these guys, and they was willing to work. They was willing to, put up with them, and so they was okay right there. After a while, chairman of the board, their sound kind of changed it a bit. You could tell. Jeffrey Bowen. Jeffrey Bowen was kind of like helping. Was helping with Chairman of the Board last album. Jeffrey Bowen was like Norman Whitfield's understudy. Uh, kind of like a student of Norman Whitfield. Lamont Dozier kind of like, began a solo career. He had a underrated solo career. Fish ain't biting. Trying to hold on to my woman, those type of things. Successful. He went over there to ABC, and by the time Invictus and Hot Wax, kind of, and also in some of this, they're, allegedly when they were having success, I'm saying allegedly, Barry kind of like was putting some pressure, kind of like bad mouthing, about them to certain people, and uh, kind of like, just putting some bad stuff out there about them, and you know, uh, so they won't have, big, uh, promotions and stuff like that. But Capital wasn't good at black, black performers and stuff like that. So they was, they didn't have any, anything to relate to the black audience. So, Eddie ended up hiring a staff, black staff to help, uh, that type of thing. But a lot of people, you know, they feel like the management, Holland management wasn't up to par. The management issues was very, not good. They had the name, they had the talent, but as far as management, they weren't up to par. You know, and for the most part, like people gotta remember too, this is Detroit. You know, uh, Barry Gordy by then, he had moved to California. For the recording industry was kind of shutting down for Detroit. So, you know, a lot of this stuff was happening, and then they was getting ready to do CBS, getting ready to sign CBS. Clyde Davis kind of fell apart. Clyde Davis ended up falling out, and so that was that. Um, they tried to really stay afloat, but they really couldn't. It was just too much going on. it's some more stuff to the story, but you know, this is probably the reason why, my Dozier probably was like, hey, I could just be a artist, he was over there at ABC. He got McKinley Jackson. McKinley Jackson was with Motown. He did some of the hot wax stuff and Invictus. And then he went over there with my Dozier at ABC, arranging, producing, co-writing. And after all this, um, the Holland brothers went back to Motown. Uh, Dozier, my Dozier kind of just stayed on his solo path and was like, you know, so they kind of rekindled their relationship with Barry, and they ended up writing for the Jacksons, Michael Jackson's last album on Motown, and he was writing for the Supremes. I think it was like the new Supremes at the time, and a couple of other people. And then by this time, they just kind of was like, you know, they kind of was like Motown was kind of like dealing with some stuff too, some management issues too. They end up getting the Capitol. They ended up going with Capitol Records, and I think Capitol as distributors. And, it was a lot of things going on that I could get into, but it would be too much of a long video. Let me just note that, chairman of the board, you know, they end up falling out with Holland, Dozier Holland. They kind of they did their last album, which had some of the Funkadelics on there. Um, Harrison Kennedy kind of like didn't really care for the situation anymore with Hot Wax and Viticus. Honeycombs, Edna Wright ended up leaving. There was some jealousy going on because she's singing majority lead. Then there was another thing going on. But a lot of people came through Hot Wax and Viticus. They had the Glass House, 100 Proof Agent Soul. They had, I mentioned Eighth Day. They had, Frida Payne. Frida Payne was like their first. I think that sold like 500,000 band of gold. So that was their like success right up there. Parliament came through there and released an album. And yeah. And today, as far as 2024 goes, the Holland brothers is still around. They just released a book. They really don't like talking about the situation with Barry Gordy, because they rekindled their relationship. My Dozier, he ended up passing away. Um, not like a few years ago, or a couple of years ago, and he was out there in Arizona. So yeah, man, they had some good music. When they left Motown, they still had some good music. There's a lot of good material. Um, yeah, a lot of great material they had. They had General Johnson from Chairman Board's writing some material for the Honeycombs, and it was a collaborative effort. Check out artist all the artists groups on Invictus and Hot Wax. All right, I'm in this video. Like this video, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. It's your boy DJ Gary. I'm out.